The High Council sat around the gold table at the centre of the chamber. The 15 elderly and decrepit men who represented the 15 domains into which the Imperium was divided, all dressed in the same blood-red togas with gold borders to denote their positions as High Councillors. Their function was to advise the Imperator on vital issues and bring matters of concern in their domains to his attention, but like the rest of the Imperial government, they possessed no real power. In truth, the decisions made on behalf of the Imperium and its people rested solely in the hands of the Imperator. Everyone else was there just to follow his orders. Domitian wasn't a member of the council, his toga light blue as opposed to the dark red of his employer, High Councillor Lucius, to his left. He'd been in service to Lucius for quite some time, though he still wasn't sure what to call himself. Junior politician, aide, bodyguard, or all of the above. He also acted as something of an apprentice, the hope being that someday he would hold a seat on the council and have the chance to bring about some much needed change in the Imperium. If only mother and father could see him now, they were probably spinning in their graves back on Chiral. Domitian certainly hadn't expected the turns his life seemed to have taken. One other figure occupied the chamber, one whose presence cast a shadow of fear over the council, both figuratively and literally. Tacitus, the supreme commander of the imperial military, stood by the entrance, like a mountain in his black suit of heavy power armor. He presided over the council in menacing silence, thoughts and feelings obscured behind his helmet. They'd been sitting for a while, waiting quietly for the Imperator to arrive for their twice-weekly meeting. It was a habit of his to force them to wait unreasonably long periods before gracing them with his presence, his way of reminding them how little they truly mattered. No one was happy with being made to wait in silence, but they all managed to keep their displeasure hidden, except for one. Councillor Regulus had just been appointed to the High Council and was looking more and more frustrated by the second. He shifted in his seat and sighed, casting pointed looks to the others who did their best to ignore him, not wishing to incur the wrath of the Supreme Commander. Finally, the old man seemed to have had enough. "This is ridiculous! How much longer are we to wait? I have other matters to attend to!" The others stayed quiet, avoiding his gaze. "You will wait as long as the Imperator says you will," the Supreme Commander answered in his deep, resonant growl, like steel scraping over stone. "Well, when will the Imperator be here?" Regulus's question went unanswered, both by Tacitus and his fellow councillors. He looked from one nervous face to the next, but received no acknowledgement. "This is ridiculous. I won't have my time wasted like this. Not by anyone!" Domitian lowered his gaze as Regulus got up and began his way to the exit. The council did the same, not wishing to see what would happen next. Very bad things happened to those who defied the Imperator. As he reached the exit, Regulus found his way blocked by the black mass that filled the archway, and looked up to find himself staring into the glowing red eyes of the Supreme Commander. The old councillor trembled. "Step aside." The metal giant remained where he stood. "Sit down." Domitian prayed Regulus would do as he was told. "You can't keep us here." Tacitus leaned closer and repeated his order. Domitian felt like there were a pair of hands wrapped around his heart, certain that, in a few moments, the High Council would be in need of a new member. A few torturous moments passed before Regulus seemed to come to his senses and moped his way back to his seat. Domitian, along with several others, breathed sighs of relief. Tacitus returned to his original spot and resumed his watching of the council. There were no more complaints. With no end to the already painfully long wait in sight, Domitian did as he always did in these situations, and cast his mind back to the many times and places he'd rather be. Out of all of them, it was his bed he longed for the most, with Hera by his side. He left the council chamber entirely, journeying across the cosmos faster than any ray of light, all the way to his kind's homeworld, to the white beaches of Genanius, along the southeastern shores of Halak. He could almost feel the warm sand pressed between his toes like beads of hot coal as he watched his wife run barefoot along the beach in her white summer dress, brown hair fluttering along behind her. They'd spent 3 weeks there after marrying in her hometown of Marbella. The council chamber all but vanished as he listened to the symphony of birdsong accompanied by the soft percussion of distant waves. Hera came skipping over and wrapped her arms around his shoulders, smiling that smile of hers that beamed brighter than any galaxy. Domitian stared into her brown eyes, losing himself in them as she planted a soft kiss upon his lips. In that moment, life had never felt more perfect. The distant sounds of coughing and tapping of cane ripped Domitian from his wife's embrace and returned him to his seat in the High Council chamber. All around him, the council were preparing themselves, drawing in breaths and wringing their hands as the coughing grew louder, until the Imperator came limping in, accompanied by Madame Alrianius and his Praetorians. The High Inquisitor remained at his side as he slumped into the seat at the head of the table, ever the faithful servant. The Praetorians went to their usual spots in the shadows by the archway. The Imperator sat hunched over the tabletop, coughing away. The council waited for him to finish. No one spoke out of turn in front of the Imperator. Finally he finished. "Speak,"